Hello there, Dr. Sheep here. Welcome back to our TGIF Talks, episode 131. I'm your host, Dr. Sheep, Joe, my co-host, Anonymous Phil.
Hello.
Let's roll the intro. Wouldn't you like to get away? So much to talk about, so little time. I think the first thing was, I went to pick up my bowl today.
Oh, yeah.
Where's my webcam? Why is it not showing up? Oh, webcam. Oh, there it goes. It wasn't, so it had an issue they called crawling, where like the glaze tries to come away from the ceramic. And so they had to refire it. They said it's not a big deal. It'll be fine.
Oh, so you don't have it yet?
No. And they said it'll be ready Wednesday, and I'm like, you know what? I've got a piece that'll be ready Friday. I'll just come back Friday.
Oh, you're sending them something else?
I had already sent them something else. So I had a bunch of that Galaxy glaze left.
Mm-hmm.
I had a ton of white. I still have a ton of white. And so I was like, you know what? So I was like looking for another piece. I wanted a plate or something, but they didn't have any plates because it was a Monday after the weekend.
Oh, Mondays after so are you going to go back to get a plate?
So I found these wreaths. So they're a big circle, complete flat, complete flush. There's a fire outside. Interesting. And then there's a hole in the center. So you could paint on it whatever you want. And so I was like, well, maybe this would be like a black hole type of thing or something. So I painted it with the Galaxy. And I could only do one side because I barely had enough to do 3 coats of it, which is weird. I asked them, I'm like, the Galaxy stuff seems way darker than the traditional black. I'm like, does it need 3 coats? And they're like, yeah, it needs 3 coats. And I'm like, okay. I did a test on the back. I put 1 coat on the back to see how dark it would be. And so if I were to ever do another piece, be like, I didn't need to do so many coats. But anyways.
Oh, okay. So you did 3 coats on one side, 1 coat on the other, and you're going to compare them?
Well, I just did like a line. I didn't have enough to do a whole side 1 coat.
Well, that might affect the results, though.
I think it'll be fine. It was literally just I just like, you know, brushed it on. I didn't want to use too much because I need to do 3 coats on the front.
Yeah.
So, and then I made a white ring around the middle center, and then like a spiral outside kind of type thing with the white. And then, like, some random big stars, even though, like, really big stars compared to what will be from the Galaxy glaze.
The only thing I could think of why it might need 3 coats is because it's going to get so hot that all the clay, you know, all the particles are going to reform into, like, almost like this liquid, right?
Yep.
To fill in all the little gaps and form, I don't know if it's like a crystal, but basically, it's going to harden to the point that there's no pores. And so all that paint is also going to liquefy and get sucked in. And I wonder if it's going to get sucked in enough that it's just going to become light, almost like a gray.
On the back or on the front?
On the side that does not have 3 coats.
Right. But like, it's so like.
Well, it's kind of crazy, you know. They get it hot enough, like.
I know. I mean, it turns into glass.
Liquid, but it's like a liquid.
Yeah, it turns into glass.
It's liquid, and it just sort of solidifies. It liquefies into itself.
Mm-hmm. It is possible, but like when you paint this on, it's like comparing. It's so dark. Like, in the cup, it looks like the same amount of black as is the regular black. But when you paint it on, it is dark. It's like, I don't have another gray. Like this is even, maybe in the camera this looks light enough. Like, this is, no. The bowl the general color of the bowl after 3 coats of black is lighter, is a little lighter than this.
Wait, so you bought the bowl? It was white, right? Or gray, or
it was white. Yep.
So so when I did pottery, if I remember right, it was like there's almost like brown, like dark, very dark
Terracotta,
gray
yeah.
clay. Oh, it's terracotta. Okay, because I remember then, you let it harden for like a couple days, like over the weekend, right? And then you glaze over that.
Mm-hmm.
But I was wondering how do they have? Is white just a completely different mixture of sand and stuff?
So
Or like why is it white?
it's just whatever. It's the clay particles. So I mean, remember the gray?
It's just a different sand or whatever.
Not sand, clay. Sand and clay are two
What?
different. Sand and clay are two different things. It's a whole soil
What
thing.
is clay made? What is clay made of?
It's the same thing, but it's particle size.
Clay is okay.
It's particle size. So I think clay is the smallest.
What emulsifies it?
Clay.
What? I'm sorry. What?
So
What holds the particles together?
clay. So the
Clay.
So clay. So you have to think of it this way: sand, clay, and silt are all the same material.
It's all silicon dioxide.
Yep, it's all silicon dioxide. Yep. It's all silicon dioxide.
Okay.
However, there's different particle sizes. So sand has the biggest, and then I'm pretty sure silt, then clay. I'm pretty sure silt's in the middle.
So clay has a very small particle size.
Very small. Because it has a tendency has a hard time settling out of water. It can, and it does, but compared to silt.
Why does firing clay not turn it into glass?
I think it's because of how small the particles are. I don't know. There's got to be something else. You're probably right. There's also something else in clay.
Because there's got to be something such that when you fire it, it becomes transparent versus opaque.
Well, I think normal sand, if you fire it, it would turn.
Well, I think porcelain, like china, if it's thin enough, I think it is translucent, right?
It's yes, translucent, not transparent. Translucent.
Yeah, translucent. I think porcelain, like fine china, is translucent.
Oh, we'll look this up here. Difference between clay, between glass
and clay,
and pottery.
Pottery, yeah, pottery.
Okay, the main difference between I don't want kiln. I just want between glass and pottery. Ceramics are crystalline, where glasses are amorphous.
Okay.
Hence, glasses progressively soften upon heating and never melt. As such, ceramics almost always exhibit high melting temperatures and thermal stability. So it's got to be because of that. It's got to be because of... It has to be... We can look
up...
The
way the bonds are formed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why the bonds form the way they do, but it has to be the way the bonds are forming. I wonder if there's something else in it. If there's another molecule.
Great, thanks. I asked chemical, not frickin' element. Thanks, Encyclopedia Britannica. Some claim minerals are expressed using ideal chemical formulas. You don't tell me. Great, but I don't know. So there's other things in it, I think. But the main thing is silicon dioxide.
Which is what glass is.
So the silicon dioxide ratio is a formula. In a formula is the key factor for determining clay mineral types. By the basis of variables of clay composition, atomic structure into 9 groups. Mica, chloride, okay. Great, cool. So derived or chemically. So yeah, so it's not. So it is, but isn't. So glass is like pure silicon dioxide.
Yeah.
Clay has other things mixed into it.
Yeah. We'll call them impurities.
Yeah. But these impurities are what gives it its
properties.
Its properties, yeah.
Sure.
As we're glass, well, I mean, glass has other things in it, like most of it's actually sort of borate glass anymore. Any good glass, anyways, has boron in it.
Oh, okay.
So, because there's soda lime glass and there's soda borate, like it's I don't know how to say it, but there's soda lime and then there's one with boron in it.
Yeah. Well, because I don't.
And the boron's actually.
I know at an atomic level, the difference between transparent and opaque is that as light photons, from around the room in the sun, as they interact with the atom, they do not have enough energy to excite the electrons to a new energy level. And so they pass straight through.
Right.
And so, something that's, like a door or like clay, as light hits the atoms, it excites them to a new energy level. They release a photon of that energy level, which is a color. But for glass, that photon passes all the way through as white light, and it never releases its color until it hits another opaque material like the wall behind it.
But what's interesting is that
there is in fact a higher. It's not like it does have an energy level. There is an energy level, and it's UV light.
Right.
UV light passes through glass, and it has a high enough energy to excite the electron to a new energy level, which is why it's very hard to get a suntan in a closed car.
Right. We also designed the glass to do that. We don't want the interiors of cars being faded by sunlight as fast. Yes. They also, I think it also depends on the atoms that are in there, because some atoms, and it also depends on like the way the bonds are made, because because we'll see it peak in different wavelengths.
Glass isn't completely transparent. Like, you can tell there's something there. It's not like it's invisible.
Sometimes.
You can tell that there's something there.
Sometimes, if you get it clean enough and the sun.
Well, yeah, that is true. I have cleaned my door. I'm at my parents' house. Like the door to the back door. If you clean it well enough, it'll look like you can just walk straight through it.
Like my window in front of me right now.
I know the dog's done it too. I cleaned the door well enough that the dog walked straight into the door and then didn't realize that the door was shut.
My window right in front of me here in my room the side that doesn't have the screen, it's pretty damn transparent. Like I know there's glass there, and
But like if you walk, it looks like you could stick your hand out.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah.
No, but it doesn't, certain glass, doesn't it absorb different infrared though? Because I feel like.
Oh. I do know what you're talking about. It has a greenhouse effect.
Yeah, because there has to be. I think there is the logic is sound, but I also think there's some fancy quantum mechanics going on. There is a slight
flaw. There is a slight, physics is notorious for, that is basically how it works, except for there's always this hand-wavy notion of, well, there is this exception because of this.
Because of quantum mechanics.
And I think infrared is an exception, but I don't know why it works the way it does.
Probably quantum mechanics.
What?
It's quantum mechanics.
Yeah.
If light doesn't do what you think it's going to do, it's probably because of quantum mechanics or relativity.
Yeah.
If something funky, if it interacts with the material in a funky way that you weren't expecting, it's probably quantum mechanics.
Yeah.
So, damn quantum, like the atmosphere, it's transparent in certain wavelengths, but not others. Like thermal radiation, like infrared, it's basically, opaque. At certain wavelengths. And invisible light, it's basically translucent. But but ultraviolet, well, different parts of the atmosphere absorb it differently. The ozone layer is really good.
Well, like 99% of it is absorbed.
Yeah.
It's that 1% that makes it through that you need to put sunscreen on. If all 100% of the UV rays made it through, we'd be fried.
Yeah.
We would be fried.
Wouldn't be a good time.
But 1% makes it through, and it's that 1% that can cause cancer because the UV light damages the DNA in the cells or something like that. Or
that's exactly what happens.
The mutation. It causes an incorrect copy to be made of the DNA. It leads to mutations or something like that.
Bro, you want to talk about incorrect mutations? I learned... So you know what a prion disease is?
Prion disease?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've heard of prions. Supposedly they're like a theoretical particle, but...
Oh, no. Okay, so...
I have no idea. I don't think that's what it is.
Maybe prion? Have you heard of prion disease? Can be pronounced both ways. Paus has mentioned them before. So when it comes to what can make you sick, you have parasites, bacteria, amoebas, fungus, and viruses. There's another, though. Misfolded proteins, or prions or prions, depending on who you ask. And it's weird because they're strange because they don't mean to replicate. Like a virus has DNA. It wants to replicate. It's not really alive, but also it has them. It wants to replicate. A misfolded protein doesn't mean to replicate, but it does because when it touches other proteins, it corrupts them, misfolds them, and then that continues to cause issues. Well, I guess I always thought theoretically it's possible, but a lot of the human prion diseases happen because your DNA screws up and causes your cells to start misfolding proteins. Luckily,
how many do you say there were?
Huh?
How many things do you say there were?
Prions are... there's... I don't know if you want to really include amoebas in there, but I would include them as different. They're not really a parasite. They're not a bacteria, because I don't think amoebas are single-celled, or maybe they are. I don't remember.
Sure.
There's parasites, bacteria, viruses, and fungus.
So I think that's 6 total.
If you want to include amoebas.
If you include amoeba, it's 6.
6 plus prions.
Yeah, which is a misfolded protein.
Yeah. 6 things. And they're weird.
That's it.
Yeah. And they're weird.
And then I guess you have whatever the hell Kyle has. He seems to just get sick from whatever.
I mean, I guess there's cancer too.
Just the air.
I guess there's cancer too, but that's...
That's not a misfolded protein though?
No. Cancer is replication. But
replication there.
this, it's scary because it happens in the brain. And in some cases, it doesn't kill you until you're like 80. It will start some random point in your life, and they will slowly build up and kill you. Now, usually, I think it happens somewhere in your 60s or 70s, and then it will kill you by the time you are like 80. It takes 10 years for these to build up to the point where you die. Because your brain can't transmit freaking signals anymore because there's too much crap in the way. And you can't get rid of it. And these things are terrible, right? Because if we think about mad cow disease, it can't be destroyed with heat. I mean, it can, but the heat that's necessary to destroy it is so hot. They're incredibly stable molecules. Like, the normal proteins in your bodies break down after a few days if just left be. These things would last for centuries. They are so stable. Most misfolded proteins would also break down after a few days. But when they fold in such a way, they would create such a stable molecule that it would take an act of God to destroy these things. And I don't think even chlorine breaks them down. They're that stable. They're terrifying. So it's like when a surface gets contaminated, it's hard to clean it because you've annihilated literally everything on the table, but the proteins might still be there.
Yeah.
If they didn't get brushed away. And then all it takes. What?
So what does this term misfolded mean?
So proteins are really complicated. They're long strings of molecules.
Yeah.
And because of because they're so different, and they have different like little molecules that make up the big molecule. And so they have different arrangements and polar and non-polar molecules interacting with each other. And so they have to fold in a correct way. But when the cell's mechanisms to create these proteins puts one part in a different position, the little micro forces can't cause it to recorrect.
So the cell is misshapen too.
No, the cell is, for all intents and purposes, the cell is fine.
Because at first I was thinking like sickle cell anemia.
No, the cell, for all intents and purposes, is fine, except when it tries to make this protein, it can't. Mm-hmm. And your body can't do anything about it. Like, I don't think the immune system can properly attack it. Because I think it corrupt, because the cell just keeps making these things. The cell doesn't know there's anything wrong. It's kind of like free radicals keep building up, and can keep building up in your body until you die. It's kind of the same thing. They get stuck. They're just tearing things apart, and that's what these proteins do. And the cell just keeps making them. That's the issue. The cell does have something wrong with it. But it's not like a cancer where, or a sickle cell where the immune system is going to pick up on that and be like, there's something wrong here. The immune system's not going to pick up on it. I don't think so. I don't know how the immune response is, but shit's terrible. And I was, Rondo, that's his thing. That's what he's doing up in North Dakota. He's studying a prion disease in deer, chronic wasting disease. And now that I know that your body can make, because I always thought, it's like mad cow disease where you have to eat the brain of another, the brain or the spinal cord of another creature to ingest this. So I was like, are these deer eating other deer? No. I mean, yes, it is persisting in the environment, and a deer could get it that way, But they told me. But what happens is during times of stress, so during times of drought, when there's less food, we see it happen. Well, what's probably happening is the body has this wear and tear on it, which causes cells to probably misfold a protein because they're under stress. Well, they misfold the protein. Well, it's basically game over.
Yeah.
So.
Well, game over in 10 years.
Well, I mean, not for a deer.
Oh.
That's the thing, right? In cattle and in deer, it's fast. In humans, though, unless you get, like, mad cow disease, it's not fast. That's usually because, well, when you get it from a cow, the one case, I've heard I think there's only one case in humans of mad cow disease. But when you get it, it's usually because you get a lot of them, and it goes quickly. But there are human diseases. But the nice part is it's hard to spread them, right? Like it's the only way you have to worry about getting a prion disease is when we're 60, and your body, self-destructs.
It's getting old.
Yeah, self-destructs. Which at that point, it's like you're gonna die.
Call it old age.
You're probably gonna die anyways.
Yeah, you just call it old age.
And it's very possible a lot of people die before the prion disease gets to them. Of other things that just kill them faster, like diabetes or heart disease, or a bullet.
Well, see, that's the thing. 50 years ago, none of these diseases really existed because, well, one, we had. The medicine was not good enough at the time to really know what people were having. And that was just the normal life expectancy. It was just called old age. And then as the life expectancy grew and people died sooner, it's like, well, maybe they're dying sooner for a different reason. Maybe there's actually something going on here. So this term old age, it's like, well, everyone dies of something. I don't know how much this old age is really a thing. If everyone dies of something, there's always a cause. But they call it natural causes because they don't know what it is. They're just old.
Oh, it's polio.
Polio?
Polio's a lot of people think it's a relatively new disease. Like, we're talking Middle Ages is when it showed up. But there's evidence to support that it's been around since the Egyptians. Mm-hmm. There was a pharaoh who had symptoms of polio when he died.
Yeah. I think everyone dies of something. There's always something going on. And then
I don't know.
We call it old age because of how long they lived.
True. But also I genuinely think that sometimes the body just stops.
But why though?
I mean usually it's probably
there has to be a reason why something stops working, right?
Okay, if you want to get nitpicky, we know, right? When someone dies of old age is just usually just a cover-up term. Like, if we wanted to actually know, we could know.
Because they made it to, say, 90 years old.
But we're not going to perform an autopsy and figure out, oh, yeah, his telomeres got too short and his cells stopped replicating fast enough, and so his lungs just stopped.
Yeah, and so I think
we're not gonna look into that.
At a cellular level, there is a reason.
Right.
Now, whether or not we could do anything about the telomeres or whatever.
Currently.
Whether or not we could actually do anything about that is a different story.
Right.
But,
he had too many free radicals.
I think everyone on Earth would have a unique condition on why they die.
Well, you ever
out of control.
So remember in House where he doesn't like full body scans because everybody has something wrong with them?
Yeah.
And there's probably nothing wrong with it, but we're gonna spend a whole lot of time scanning it, writing down whatever this is, and that's a lot of. And I was watching this YouTuber, where in the cancer space, we're spending all this time and money on trying to cure stage 4 cancer, stage 4, stage 3 cancer. When in reality, cancer is really easy to stop in stage 1 or stage 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's really easy. The issue is a lot of cancers don't present until stage 3, stage 4, until it's too late.
Yeah.
And, or, without doing, like, scanning, like, without doing a full body scan or something. Mm-hmm. And, there's this debate right now in the medical community, like, do we continue to try and develop these tools to treat stage 4 cancer, or do we make it okay to get scans yearly or whatever for everybody after a certain age so that we can detect the cancer sooner?
Yeah.
But, like, the thing is, those scans, you're being exposed to radiation. And so that increases your risk of cancer anyways.
Well, the other thing I've always wondered, because it presents itself as like a lump, right? But I feel like, I think everyone just has like this, fear, maybe this slight fear of the doctor, whatever, or just they don't want to be a hypochondriac. They don't want to think that, oh, this has to be this, And it's like, maybe it'll go away. But as the years progress, eventually it does become something serious where it's like, yeah, maybe a couple of years ago I should have had this looked at, but they didn't want to be a hypochondriac about it. Well, it's probably fine. Maybe it'll go away.
And a lot of times doctors do have the same philosophy. They're like, it'll be fine.
It'll go away.
Yep.
And then, a couple of years down the road, it's still there. It's like, maybe we should have looked at that several years ago.
Thanks,
Doc.
I've been hearing a lot of stories about gynecologists recently. And I think there's an issue there. Basically, there's this, I think I've told you the story, this YouTuber, right? She, how do I put this?
Is she a gynecologist or she has a...
No, okay, so basically, when she was like 15 or whatever, she got an IUD. That's one of those little birth control things that you can have, that they have implanted, not in your arm, but like actually in your uterus. That way she doesn't have to take the pill. And after doing that, when she was 15, she got really depressed for a year and a half, 2 years. And then she got out of it. And she did, and because she was working, she was like winning these awards. She was this entrepreneur. She owned this business that was really successful. And she sold it to become a YouTuber. And then so then 7 years passed. That's when it wears out, like 7 years or something like that. Don't quote me all the time. She gets it again. She's the happiest she's ever been. Gets the implant.
7 years later?
Huh?
What?
So like she goes to like a year and a half where she's super depressed. Sells the business around the same time. Had she just waited to sell the business, she might not have never become a YouTuber. And I'll explain why. Fast forward to the end of the 7 years, and she needs to get a new one. She's the happiest she's ever been. Life is great. She's enjoying being a YouTuber. Things are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Goes in, gets the implant, and that day, it was like a light switch. She wanted to die. She was depressed.
Depression hit?
She just, like a light switch. She didn't know why. So she asked her gynecologist. Her gynecologist is just like, breezes off, like, there's nothing wrong with you. Stop being a baby about it. And, I think I don't remember if she did some research and then went to her family medicine doctor. But eventually, this went on for months. And she's just struggling to get out of bed. Just the emotional weight of it all.
Yeah.
She finally goes into her family medicine doctor. And her family medicine doctor is like, yeah, so there's this so it's like 1 in whatever people are very sensitive to hormone level changes. And her family medicine doctor's like, so your body has a hard time adapting to these rapid swings in hormones. So back when she got the first implant, her body went from having a normal level of estrogen that it was comfortable with to a stupid amount of estrogen. And the body...
Why did she get the implant in the first place?
Birth control. Doesn't want to take the pill. And doesn't want the arm thing. The arm thing's gross.
Can she still have kids one day if she so pleases?
Yeah, once you take the implant out and wait enough time, yeah.
Oh, so it's like a permanent, you're fixed temporarily until you take the implant out.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that. Continue.
Anyways, so 7 years pass. So a few years pass, and this device slowly starts to lose its potency, and finally her body gets down to an estrogen level that it's comfortable with, and she's happy again.
Okay.
Estrogen's a weird chemical. Okay. Fast forward to when the thing finally needs to be replaced. Same thing happens. Gets a stupid amount of estrogen. And the gynecologist just ignores it.
Wait. So the implant is causing a surplus of estrogen?
Yep.
Why?
So it's plastic that's impregnated with estrogen.
But that suppresses your cycle?
Yeah.
Really?
It's weird. I'm not an expert, but yes, that's what it does.
It suppresses your cycle. Okay.
Yeah. It stops the egg.
Yeah.
I think you could still have periods. Don't quote me on that. Again, I'm not an expert.
Well, if you have periods, wouldn't that mean that you're like ovulating and stuff?
Yes. No, not necessarily.
No.
You can still. So like, I don't. Again, don't.
You can have a period without ovulating.
Yeah. It's just a normal cycle that your body has to go through. It's the other hormones that your body makes that isn't just estrogen.
Okay.
Anyways, so you're at this constant high level of estrogen, and this makes her very depressed. But the more, and she goes to a family medicine doctor, and they're like, what do we do? Well, the thing is, you could remove it, but then she'd have to take the pill, but, for how much estrogen...
Or you just, be safe. I mean, what condoms like 98% effective.
Yes, but like maybe she has a long-term boyfriend and doesn't want to have to.
Wants zero risk. I mean, nothing's zero risk.
Well, yeah, but like maybe she has a long-term boyfriend and they don't want to use condoms. Sex apparently is not as fun with a condom.
So I've been heard.
So I've been told as well.
I have heard that yes, it is more enjoyable raw. Is what I've been told.
Well, virgins here, folks, virgins. so anyways, so she goes to family medicine doctor. Family medicine doctor, yep, this is a known thing that happens. It's rare, but it's a known complication of this. And then family medicine doctor's like, well, if we remove it, then you have to take the pill. But then again, that's going to have its own issues because, as we now know, her body's super sensitive to these hormone levels. And then also, it's going to go from too much estrogen to no estrogen, like that. And that's going to, God knows what that could do to her.
So is there a solution?
No.
No.
The solution is to leave it in, tough it up for the year and a half she's going to have to deal with this, and then...
That's a long time to have to deal with depression that's unnecessary.
Crippling...
I say unnecessary, but depression that could be solved.
Yeah.
Depression that has an easy fix, I should put it that way.
Right. Well, easy for us, but also it's a hard
I should say it's easy to fix the depression, but there's complications.
We also don't know if after removing it, whether it might cause her to spiral into actual depression. once the brain gets
because there'll be a sudden change in estrogen.
Yep. Which is how this
so
happened.
you let the body go back to normal, and then you remove it out then.
Well, I mean, yeah, in 7 years, she could have removed again, but she'll also probably want to start a family by the time she wants to remove it, so it won't matter. 7 years from now.
Ever heard of just like, I don't know, pulling out?
Doesn't work.
Well, I know it's not 100% effective.
I talked to a guy at work, only like non-virgin there that isn't our boss. And he told us about his experiences.
Yeah.
He's like, it's not easy. And he told us.
It's one of those things like, it's coming, but like pun intended, but like you have the urge to keep going.
Yep.
Right? All right.
Yep, pretty much. It's like, it's going to happen, but
like you don't want to stop. Okay.
Yep. You're like, damn, but this feels good.
I'm sure that's, yes.
Pretty much, that's kind of how he explained it.
Mm-hmm.
Where do these podcasts go? But anyways, yeah. But that goes to these specialists. They just bust her off. Like, what the hell? And then it goes to her family medicine doctor. Family medicine doctor's like,
no.
Huh?
Wait, see, that's the thing. Yeah, I would expect a gynecologist, and like the family doctor, they're probably going to be familiar with a lot of these things, but I would expect the gynecologist of all people to know what's going on, rather than just say, "Suck it up, Buttercup." Like they probably have done this procedure numerous times. Either people have never reported it to them, so they're unfamiliar with it, or they need to do more research.
It's also
I would
possible
think that an expert in the field would know about the side effects.
It's also possible that it's an older gynecologist who's stuck in his or her ways and doesn't want to change. I doesn't want to admit that this is a problem.
That is true too.
That's a lot of.
They should be familiar with the side effects, though, right? Unless they don't want to admit that they're side effects.
Or doesn't care. It's also,
or doesn't care.
They're tenured. What are they gonna do? They have malpractice insurance for a reason.
Or they're just new. Either they're old and stuck in their ways, or they're just super new.
Well, a lot of times with new doctors, they actually overdiagnose.
Oh, overdiagnose?
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't know what it's like their first day on the job where they suspect everything's wrong.
Yep, so they run a ton of tests. You remember that house episode?
I've seen House.
Like as much
I've seen an episode or two.
Like as much as it's a medical drama.
It's like, you have medical insurance, right? You have 100% coverage.
It's actually surprisingly real, especially the way it depicts the diseases, the way it talks about certain parts of the medical field.
How many tests do they? I wonder, of all the zebras that hospitals have, how many of them, do they actually do numerous tests before it's like, yeah, I'm sorry, you're just broken.
Well, one of my coworkers, he has a stomach issue. So there's a coworker of mine, he has a stomach issue, and he had a bunch of tests done. They didn't find anything wrong. However, there was this one test that they ran, and it says, "Yep, you have this issue." However, that test, when it shows up a positive for this one condition, can also mean that he's positive for a different condition, but not necessarily positive for the other condition, if that makes sense.
Oh.
So it can show a false positive for this condition, and that a proper test for the other condition needs to be done.
Okay.
When this positive shows up. That's what a doctor should do. But his doctor just said, yeah, that's what it is, and didn't do it. And he's like, you know what? I'll just accept it. But he hasn't really felt better, which suggests that he probably has this other condition, not the one the doctor says he has. So there's that case too. It's this is why we're not doctors. I couldn't be a doctor. I could be a researcher. I couldn't be an actual doctor. Actually, medical science just irritates the crap out of me because that was the one thing I was good at in high school when I did my science fairs was please identify all the variables. I'm like, okay. I can identify them all, but it's a long list, and I don't know how to properly weight these things because that wasn't a thing they made you do. And in an adult science fair, they would definitely probably have you weight the how much does each one
likelihood of a certain variable.
Yeah, how much does this variable actually affect this?
Actually, yeah, it's like air current is an issue, but down to the 10th decimal place or whatever.
The curvature of the Earth.
Yeah.
Or
the fact that we're in a new moon versus a full moon.
Yeah, the position of the goddamn moon.
Discrepancy in the gravitational pull.
Oh my god, yeah. So my 8th grade science fair project. Okay, oh god, we're never gonna talk about AI on this thing, are we?
After this, finish this thought.
No, but I got other things to talk about too.
Oh. We'll just have to then we can do a live stream.
Well, you're never available, so.
Well, I thought next Saturday. Well, you said you wanted to do a live. Remember how?
Yeah, I realized next Saturday doesn't work because my birthday party is next Saturday.
No, but the Saturday after that, or.
Oh, well, yeah, that one Saturday we're doing off subject. We'll get after the podcast. So, we can always talk about AI at another one. I'm sure one of these times we'll be like, "There's no ideas. What are we gonna talk about?" So, fuck. What was I talking about? Shit, it's gone.
We were talking about.
Oh, my 8th grade science fair project. So my 8th grade science fair project. This came around at the same time that Nerf released a new product line of their Nerf blasters. They said this is their elite line compared to their regular end strike line. They were claiming this better increased performance. The most annoying part of the science fair was that the hardest part about this one, even though I really wanted to do the experiment. And also I wanted a new Nerf blaster. But I really wanted to do the experiment. But the big issue was I had to convince the judges that this has real, quote-unquote, real-world applications.
Okay.
For an 8th grader, that's really difficult to ask for. Because the 8th grader doesn't really know what the hell that means. As an adult...
Well, that's when you ask your parent to kind of, guide you to an answer,
Well, they thought my idea was silly. They didn't really care. They thought this was an excuse for me to get a new toy, which it partially was. But also, at the same time,
I want a new toy, but I can make an experiment out of this.
Exactly. That's what I've been doing that ever since then.
What was your experiment?
So I wanted to compare. What are they actually changing about these blasters to actually increase the performance? So
What, you take it apart or what?
No. So I was testing, was it the motors or was it the darts? In this case, these were motorized blasters. And what I found was it was both. The darts...
Yeah, I figured it'd be a combination of both.
I wasn't sure.
I probably could have told you that.
I wasn't sure.
With their new darts, they probably made an aerodynamic feature to the dart, and if it's the motor, they probably did something to have more force ejected out.
Right. Right. You can just make this assumption.
I told you that.
Yeah, but also it's a science fair for 8th graders.
No, it's a way for you to get a new toy.
Well, no, but also it's a science fair for 8th graders. There's literally entries that what component does what to cookies. Bro, Google the damn answer.
What did you
Actually,
say? What component does what?
to cookies. So if you have too much flour, what does it do? If you have too much baking soda, what does it do?
Oh, they tested each one?
I don't know if anybody did that much, but they tested something like
That's
that.
what you should do. If you want to make an experiment, because I'd be curious of that, you know.
But you can Google the answer.
You could, but it could be a fun little experiment.
I've literally seen a chart. No, but yes, it's a fun little experiment for 8th graders.
Right?
Right,
that's
but
the thing. Every experiment you could Google.
7th grade, I should say.
Every experiment.
Not necessarily.
And, if there's a chart, that could be a great experiment.
Actually,
you actually have to do
data. So my
variables.
friend at the time, the Hick, we'll call him, the man named after a TV show, or named after a university that's really good at basketball. He, not Xavier. His experiment was actually really cool. We talked about being partners, but we ended up just we didn't have any ideas. That he's like, if you come up with an idea, we'll do it. Otherwise, I'm gonna keep running with mine. That was my issue, right? I couldn't come up with any goddamn ideas.
Mm-hmm.
That was the annoying part about this. And this is the only thing that came to mind. At the time, was this Nerf blaster thing. It worked. I mean, I got one of the best scores at the science fair. I got to move on.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But also, then again, I know what the hell I'm doing. I was good at identifying variables.
Yeah.
And that's actually why I did bad at the second one, was because I did my board fell apart in the 3 months between the events, and B, I hadn't looked at the material in 3 months. C, these judges were way more critical about, the real world applications of this.
What was your second experiment?
There wasn't. You just take what you did before and present it again.
Oh. Wait, so what variables were you changing?
Just the darts and the motors.
So you just put the new darts in the old motor and...
So yeah, I put the new darts in the old blaster. So, you had the control, which is old darts and the old blaster. And then you have the new darts and the new blaster. And then you put the new darts in the old blaster and the old darts in the new blaster.
Now, can you take the blaster out and put it in the old holder?
Old what?
I guess I was asking if you went as far as to disassemble the entire thing.
Well, no, that wouldn't have worked. The elite blasters were the Eternals. The internals are actually different.
Mechanism could not be fit.
No.
In the old one.
No.
Okay.
Also, the new one actually had things they changed to it that made it better. Like the old version, the magazine didn't like to stay in the mag well.
Were these things that you discussed too?
No, because it wasn't important to the experiment. It wasn't something
that were changed, though.
Right, but again, this was something I thought mine was a lemon.
What?
I thought mine was a lemon. My old blaster, I thought it was a lemon because it had this issue.
Oh.
Well, fast forward several years. What?
It was just a feature of just all of them.
Yeah, or I thought it was just mine specifically. Turns out, many years later, all of them had that issue. Where the magazine didn't want to stay in the mag well. And actually, it resulted in my magazine for the old one breaking because my dad was using it and it fell out and hit the floor really hard. And it broke the spring. It didn't feed very well anymore. So that was one issue with the experiment that I just kind of glazed over and just said where I used the new magazine for everything.
Huh.
But when in reality you should probably change knowing what I know now, I could tell a judge these things. Like, if I could go back and do it, I know what I would do. And in the argument, what is the real world applications? The real world applications is to keep companies honest about their product claims.
which they're never going to do.
Exactly. But
They're
this
always
is
going to stretch the truth to make sales.
Yes.
And they're always going to cheap out on the product to get it made cheaper.
Yep. And you know, as an adult, that's what I would have said. I said, I'm trying to keep companies honest. You know, are they actually changing the product? And or are they just changing the darts? And in this case, on this blaster, this isn't actually the same for the entire Elite line, fun fact. It isn't actually consistent at all. Every blaster is different, apparently. But, and whether they decide...
I like your what you told me your brother did. He said he figured out the number of wind turbines,
water
the number
wheels.
of fins, to how that correlates to the efficiency.
Yeah.
I thought that was really fascinating.
That is a really cool thing. I don't know if he came up with that or if like one of his friends. I'm sure he probably came up with that. But again, my brother, let's compare my brother and I. My brother wanted to be a computer engineer. He liked electronics and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Up until late high school, I had no interest in electronics.
Yeah.
I didn't care how they worked.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was because the issue. What steered me away was because, I saw how my brother played video games, and my parents didn't like that he played video games, and they also, I saw him struggle through high school. I didn't know the full details, but he struggled through parts of high school and then subsequently into college. That has a profound effect on a kid.
Yeah.
To the point where I was like, you know what? I'm not going to play video games. But
and then
grew up.
You talked with your friend. How did you get back into it?
But
or how did you get into it?
I grew up in the Minecraft age of YouTube.
Yeah.
So my friends played Minecraft, and then
And then Survival Craft.
I started, and so I was like, well, I want to play Minecraft, and then there were all the YouTubers played it, and that's how I got into it. And the rest is history. I wanted to be a YouTuber.
Like your friends are building a computer. It's like, oh, I want to build a computer.
I never actually know. I didn't know anything about building a computer. Like, my brother built a computer, but like, I never was interested in something like that. Wasn't.
When did you have the idea of building your own computer?
18. When I was 18, and high school, college.
Why?
I started watching Linus. Senior
Why
year.
did you start watching Linus?
So senior year of high school, I was examining all the sciences I knew.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I know a lot about geology. I know a lot about physics and chemistry. I know a lot about meteorology. And I went down the list. And I was like, you know what's the one thing I don't know a damn thing about? Computer science. So I was like, can I build a computer? Like I wanted to build a computer chip. Like, I wanted to use, because I knew graphite was conductive. And I was like, can I build like a computer with pieces of paper? No, because I don't have a way of like having the transistors. But you could use a paper like a motherboard and like run traces with graphite, theoretically.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be a really low voltage, otherwise, the paper will ignite, because, graphite is a good conductor, but it will still has resistance, so, as you know. Anyways, so, I was like, how the hell do computers work? And I just went to Google, and I'm like, I want to learn how computers work. And so I taught myself how transistors worked. I then taught myself the basics of computer chips. And well, when you're Googling all these things and watching YouTube videos, you get recommended other YouTube videos.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, you watch this potassium video on how transistors worked. How about this last tech tip video?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Veritasium did make a video on how transistors work.
Yep. I watched that. I, at one point in Survival Craft on my family's computer, built a small little adding machine. Well, I shouldn't say small. It was pretty big because I didn't know quite how all the electronics worked in that game to make it really small. Mm-hmm. I didn't know all the tips and tricks, but it was as small as I could make it with my knowledge, anyways. And I built a little adding machine. It could add up to like 10 in binary or something. You know?
Yeah.
That's like four digits. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what got me into electronics and computers. It was destiny anyways. And I always wonder how different things would have been had I not been impacted by the way my parents thought of my brother, and thus you pick up on that, and then how I thought of my brother.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I liked watching my brother play video games, and when I went to your guys' house and we played the Wii, I liked playing the Wii.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know, it's just a very different... I don't know. It's really hard to say how different my life would have been.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to where it is now. Maybe I would have tried, and I would have actually tried to be a computer engineer. Although I really don't think my father would have let me. I think it'd be like, you're going to end up like your brother. No.
Yeah, you probably would have.
So he wanted. That's also another.
You and school don't really seem to mix.
Well, and that's the other thing. Well, that's modern me. Who knows if this different electronics me had done something different?
I feel like you still would have got bored of school.
Well, yeah, but that's not the. I mean, that's not to say that I would have. I never got. I was bored of it by the end.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. That was just a byproduct of the way I did my schooling.
No.
I was, taking a stupid amount of classes. I didn't care. I didn't make friends with anybody.
Yeah.
I was also doing it in a way that's very different than other people. And probably taking very different classes at very different times. I didn't do it the way you're supposed to. I did it the way I wanted to do it. Which, coincidentally, probably isn't the way you should do it. As I now know. Like, most people take their aces throughout their entire career. I did them all in a year.
Hello, with the earbuds. My phone's dying, and so I needed to take out my earbuds and put in the wireless.
Ah. You do sound different. I don't know if it's a better change or Well, anyways.
Do I sound like I'm talking through a tin can?
Yeah, but, like, I don't know. The other one also,
That's what my dad always says. He says whenever I use these, I sound like I'm talking through a tin can, and he always asks me to take them out.
Yeah, but the other ones also, like, they peaked a lot. Yeah, they sound like that. But, like, it would cause the mic to peak, so you get, like, this distortion when it gets really loud. Like, it's causing this weird resonance. So, I don't know. Anyways. Oh, God. Okay, okay.
Yeah, weren't we supposed to discuss some other stuff?
Yeah, but probably should just end it here. I like to keep these podcasts short. It's a YouTube update. I mean, it's not really too big of a deal for them to know. Just something to let you know what I've been thinking. But anyways, I'd like to thank you all for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. New podcasts every Friday, 12 p.m. Central Time. And good night.